Night silence hits different when you have anxious attachment. During the day, you can distract yourself. You can work, move, scroll, talk, clean, answer messages, run errands, act normal, and tell yourself you are fine. But at night, everything gets quiet. The phone stays silent. The room feels too still. Your body starts listening for proof. And suddenly, you are not just waiting for a text. You are waiting for evidence that you were not forgotten. You are waiting for evidence that the bond still exists. You are waiting for evidence that the distance does not mean you are being left. That is why night silence can feel like abandonment before anything has actually happened. Nothing changed on the outside. No new rejection arrived. No one said goodbye. But inside your body, the silence becomes loud enough to feel like loss. This is the part people misunderstand about anxious attachment. The fear is not only, they did not text me. The fear is, what does their silence mean about me, about us, about whether I still matter, about whether they are slowly leaving, about whether I am about to feel the same old pain again. Night takes away the noise that helped you avoid the wound during the day. It removes the distractions. It removes the performance. It removes the version of you that can pretend to be calm. And when the world gets quiet, your attachment system starts filling the empty space with possible danger. Maybe they are pulling away. Maybe they lost feelings. Maybe they are with someone else. Maybe I said too much. Maybe I was too needy. Maybe they are annoyed. Maybe they are teaching me a lesson. Maybe they are done, and I just do not know yet. This is why night silence feels so cruel. It gives fear a blank screen to write on. And if your nervous system has learned that distance often comes before pain, then silence will not feel neutral. It will feel like the beginning of abandonment. If this kind of clarity helps your nervous system settle, subscribe. PsychBond is a daily decoder for psychology, relationships, and avoidant and anxious attachment patterns, so you stop guessing. Now, let us slow this down. Night is not the enemy. Silence is not always rejection. But night silence becomes hard because your body has fewer anchors. During the day, your attention is divided. Your body can borrow safety from movement, tasks, sunlight, other people, and routine. At night, those anchors disappear. Your mind has more room. Your body is tired. Your defenses are lower. Your need for closeness becomes louder. The part of you that could stay reasonable at noon may not feel reasonable at midnight. That does not mean you are dramatic. It means your system is running on less protection. Fatigue makes fear feel more believable. Stillness makes absence feel bigger. Darkness makes uncertainty feel more intimate. And when the phone is silent, your body may treat that silence like data. It says, no text means danger. No answer means rejection. No goodnight means distance. No reassurance means something changed. But the first thing you have to understand is this. Your nervous system is not a judge. It is a protector. It is not always showing you the full truth. It is showing you what it thinks could hurt you. And if you have been hurt by silence before, your system may treat any silence as a warning. That is why one quiet night can feel like the whole relationship is collapsing. Your body is not responding only to tonight. It is responding to every night you waited, every night you were ignored, every night you were made to feel needy for wanting contact. Every night someone disappeared and then acted like nothing happened. Night silence becomes a doorway into old fear. So the goal is not to shame yourself for spiraling. The goal is to understand what kind of silence you are dealing with. Is this silence a normal pause, Or is it part of a pattern that has trained your body not to trust quiet? That is the difference that matters. And this is where we need signs, not stories. A sign is something that actually happened. A story is what your fear builds around what happened. The sign may be, they did not text tonight. The story may be, they do not care anymore. The sign may be, they went quiet after a busy day. The story may be, they are pulling away from me. The sign may be, they did not say goodnight. The story may be, I am not important enough to remember. The sign may be, they need space. The story may be, space means I am losing them. Your anxious system can build an entire emotional emergency from one missing message because it is trying to protect you from being blindsided. It wants to know early. It wants to catch the shift before it becomes a loss. It wants to scan every detail so you can prepare your heart. But preparation can turn into torture when fear starts pretending to be proof. That is why you need to separate what happened from what your body is predicting. What happened is the sign. What your body is predicting is the story. The story may be possible, but possible is not the same as proven. And at night, possible can feel like certain. That is the trap. Your mind starts treating fear as evidence because the silence gives you nothing else to hold. This does not mean you ignore your body. It means you do not let your body write the whole verdict at the most activated hour of the day. Night is not always the best time to solve the relationship. Night is often when the wound is the loudest. So before you react, you ask, what is the actual sign here? Did they say something different? Did they withdraw after closeness? Did they avoid a serious conversation? Did they disappear after you named a need? Did they go silent after conflict? Did they leave you uncertain in a way they have done before? Or is this one quiet night inside a pattern that is mostly steady? That question matters because anxious attachment can make one silence feel like every silence. But not every silence carries the same meaning. One quiet night after a full, stable, caring pattern is not the same as repeated silence after vulnerability. One person sleeping, resting, decompressing, or being busy is not the same as someone using silence to avoid accountability. One pause is not the same as a pattern of emotional absence. This is where the filter comes in. Instead of asking, why have they not texted? Ask, what does their overall ability to create safety look like? Can they communicate before disappearing? Can they tell you when they need space without leaving you to panic? Can they return with care? Can they repair after distance? Can they handle your feelings without punishing you for having them? Can they stay steady when closeness gets real? Can they understand that silence affects the relationship even if they did not mean to hurt you? These questions are not there to make you demand constant contact. They are there to help you see whether the relationship has enough steadiness to hold your nervous system over time. Because the problem is not always one silent night. The problem is when silence becomes the only language they use whenever the bond asks for care. If they are usually consistent, one quiet night may be your trigger. If they are repeatedly vague, distant, hot and cold, or avoidant after intimacy, the silence may be information. And you need enough honesty to know the difference. This is the part that can feel uncomfortable. Sometimes your night spiral is not only about your anxious attachment. Sometimes your body is reacting because the relationship has trained it to expect disappearance. If someone has a history of pulling away after closeness, your body will remember. If they have ignored hard conversations, your body will remember. If they have gone cold after you expressed a need, your body will remember. If they have returned warm without explaining the distance, your body will remember. So when the phone is silent at night, you may not be reacting from nowhere. You may be reacting from a pattern. That does not mean every fear thought is true. It means your body may be asking for something real. Consistency, clarity, repair, and emotional safety. The danger is when you make yourself the whole problem. You say, "I am just anxious. I am too much. I need to calm down. I should not care. I should be secure. I should not need a message." But sometimes the question is not, "Why am I so anxious?" Sometimes the question is, "Why does this connection keep putting my body in a place where silence feels dangerous?" That is a very different question. It does not blame you. It does not automatically blame them. It looks at the pattern. Because anxious attachment can exaggerate danger, but inconsistent behavior can also create danger. Both can be true. Your fear can be loud, and the relationship can still lack safety. Your nervous system can be activated, and the person can still be unclear. Your body can be overreacting to one moment and also accurately reacting to months of mixed signals. This is why night silence needs discernment, not shame. You do not need to attack yourself for needing reassurance. You need to ask whether the bond has enough real-life care to make reassurance less necessary over time. Real safety is not constant texting. Real safety is not someone proving themselves every hour. Real safety is not needing another person to regulate your entire night. Real safety is a pattern where silence does not automatically feel like punishment because the relationship has enough consistency to support trust. When trust exists, silence can feel like rest. When trust is shaky, silence feels like danger. That is why the same quiet phone can feel completely different depending on the relationship. In a safe pattern, a quiet night may feel disappointing, but it does not destroy you. In an unsafe pattern, a quiet night can feel like emotional freefall, because your body does not know whether the silence is normal or the beginning of another withdrawal. This is where you have to stop measuring safety only by whether they text tonight. The better question is, have they built enough trust that my body can survive tonight without turning silence into proof of loss? If the answer is no, that is information, not a reason to panic, not a reason to beg, not a reason to send 5 messages. Information. It tells you the relationship needs more than chemistry, warmth, apologies, or occasional closeness. It needs a pattern that can hold quiet without making you feel abandoned. Night silence also hurts because it makes you face the lack of control. During the day, you may feel like you can do something. You can send a message. You can stay busy. You can check stories. You can watch for signs. But at night, if they are not responding, you are forced to sit with the truth that you cannot control their attention. You cannot pull care out of someone. You cannot make them choose the moment your body needs proof. You cannot force consistency from fear. And that loss of control can feel unbearable when your nervous system believes connection equals safety. The mind then starts negotiating. Maybe I should text something casual. Maybe I should delete the message. Maybe I should post something. Maybe I should act fine. Maybe I should pull away. Maybe I should ask directly. Maybe I should not ask because that will push them away. The spiral is not random. It is the brain trying to regain control. But control is not the same as safety. You can control how carefully you word a message and still not create safety. You can control how calm you sound and still not get consistency. You can control your reaction and still not know whether they have the ability to meet you. That is why the deeper work is not just stopping the spiral. The deeper work is learning to stop treating the spiral as your only protection. Your panic is trying to protect you by making you act fast. But sometimes, acting fast only keeps you inside the same loop. You text for relief. They answer or do not answer. Your body rises or crashes. The relationship remains the same. That is not safety. That is emotional survival. The signs help you pause. The ability question helps you see reality. And reality is what the anxious nervous system needs, even when it hurts. Because fantasy is what keeps the night spiral alive. Fantasy says, if they text, I will be okay. Reality says, one text can calm me, but it cannot fix a pattern. Fantasy says, if I ask perfectly, they will understand. Reality says, a capable person does not need me to perform perfectly to care about my feelings. Fantasy says, this silence means I am losing them forever. Reality says, I need more information before I turn fear into fact. Fantasy says, if they loved me, they would know what I need. Reality says, love without communication still creates pain. This is how you begin to steady yourself without lying to yourself. You do not say, everything is fine, if everything is not fine. You say, I do not have enough information tonight to make a final conclusion. You say, my body is scared, but fear is not the same as proof. You say, this silence is painful, and I will watch the pattern, not just this moment. You say, I can care about someone and still notice whether they have the ability to create safety. You say, I do not need to solve the entire relationship at night. That last line matters. You do not need to solve the entire relationship at night. Nights make everything feel urgent because the body wants relief. But urgency is not always wisdom. Sometimes urgency is just your nervous system begging for the pain to stop. And the fastest way to stop the pain may not be the healthiest way to understand the truth. A text might calm you for an hour. A chase might give you a temporary answer. A confrontation might release pressure. But the real question is, what does the pattern show when you are not in the middle of the night storm? How do they treat you over time? Do they return with care? Do they understand impact? Do they communicate needs without making you feel disposable? Do they make repair possible? Do they make your nervous system safer? Or do they repeatedly trigger it and then call your reaction the problem? This is where the signs matter again. There are signs that silence may not be abandonment. If they told you they were exhausted and would talk tomorrow. If their overall pattern is steady. If they return with warmth and do not punish you for having feelings. If they communicate their space clearly. If the relationship has enough trust that one quiet night does not erase the whole bond. If they have shown that silence does not mean withdrawal, punishment, or emotional disappearance. In those cases, night silence may be your attachment system interpreting quiet as danger. That is still painful, but it is not the same as proof of rejection. Then, there are signs that silence is information. If they go quiet after emotional closeness. If they disappear when you ask for clarity. If they use silence after conflict instead of repair. If they come back only when you stop reaching. If they offer warmth but avoid the conversation that would make the relationship safer. If they make you feel like your needs are the reason they vanish. If every vulnerable moment is followed by distance. That is not just night fear. That is a pattern your body is responding to. And you do not heal that by telling yourself to be less anxious. You heal it by admitting that your body may need a different level of safety than this person is currently able to offer. This is the part where people get stuck. They ask, am I anxious or are they avoidant? Am I triggered or are they inconsistent? Am I overthinking or is this real? The answer is often not either or. It can be both. You can be triggered and they can be unclear. You can be anxious and they can lack steadiness. You can have old wounds, and this situation can still be touching them in a real way. The point is not to find one villain. The point is to see the whole system. Your anxious body may turn the volume up. Their inconsistent pattern may be the sound the volume is amplifying. So instead of asking, am I crazy for feeling this? Ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? And what does the pattern actually show? That question is much more useful. Because your feeling is not always a verdict, but it is always information. It tells you what your body needs. It tells you where you do not feel held. It tells you where uncertainty is costing you peace. It tells you where you might be trying to survive on crumbs of reassurance. But then you need the second half. What does the pattern show? Does this person have the ability to meet me in a way that helps my body learn safety? Not perfectly, not constantly, not like a mind reader, but with enough care, clarity, and repair that silence does not keep feeling like emotional loss. There is another reason nights feel so hard. Night makes you compare the relationship you want with the relationship you actually have. During the day, you may be able to live inside hope. You may remember their good moments. You may tell yourself they are busy, tired, stressed, overwhelmed, trying, or not good with texting. But at night, your body asks a simpler question. Do I feel emotionally safe here? Not, do I understand their reasons? Not, can I explain their distance? Not, can I make their behavior make sense? Do I feel safe enough to rest? That question can be painful because the answer may not be simple. You may know they care in some way and still not feel safe. You may know they are not trying to hurt you and still feel hurt by the pattern. You may know they need space and still need communication around that space. This is why mature clarity matters. The goal is not to turn every night into a court case against them. The goal is to stop dismissing your own body just because you can explain their behavior. Explanation is not the same as safety. Understanding why someone goes quiet does not automatically make the silence easier to live inside. Compassion for their limits does not mean abandoning your own need for steadiness. You can be kind and still be honest. You can understand someone and still admit that the pattern is not working for your nervous system. That honesty is not neediness. It is self-respect. That is the heart of this video. Nights are hardest because the anxious system does not only miss a person, it misses proof. It misses safety. It misses certainty. It misses the feeling that someone is still there. But a relationship cannot be built on nightly proof. It has to be built on a pattern strong enough that proof is not needed every few hours. That does not mean you should never want a goodnight message. It does not mean you should never need reassurance. It means reassurance should not be the only thing holding the relationship together. If one text is the only thing standing between you and abandonment panic, then your body is telling you something. It may be telling you that you have an old wound that needs care. It may be telling you that the relationship lacks steadiness. It may be telling you both. The mistake is using the text as the only medicine, because then every night becomes a test they do not know they are taking, and every silence becomes a verdict you do not have enough evidence to make. You deserve more than that. You deserve a nervous system that can rest. You deserve a connection where silence can sometimes be silence, not a threat. You deserve a bond where space is explained, not weaponized. You deserve someone who can say, "I am tired. I will talk tomorrow," without making you feel erased. You deserve someone who can return after space with care, not confusion. You deserve someone who understands that consistency is not pressure. It is how trust is built. And you also deserve to become someone who does not hand every night to fear. That means learning how to sit with silence without immediately obeying the worst story. It means asking, what are the signs? Not just, what is the fear? It means asking, can this person create safety? Not just, did they text me tonight? It means watching the pattern in daylight instead of making a final decision at midnight. It means giving your body comfort without making another person the only source of relief. The final truth is this. Night silence feels like abandonment because your body is trying to protect you from being left before you know you are being left. But protection can become panic when fear starts acting like proof. A silent phone is not always rejection, but a repeated pattern of silence, distance, avoidance, and no repair is still information. So do not shame yourself for why nights feel hard. Listen to what your body is asking for. It is not only asking for a text. It is asking for trust. It is asking for steadiness. It is asking for care that does not disappear when the room gets quiet. And it is asking you to stop surviving every night by waiting for proof from someone who may not have the ability to give you the safety you need. You are not too much for needing emotional safety. You are not weak because silence hurts. You are not broken because nighttime makes the wound louder. But you are allowed to stop letting the silence decide your worth. You are allowed to stop treating every quiet night as a final abandonment. You are allowed to look at the signs, look at the pattern, and ask the deeper question. Can this connection actually hold me? Or does it only keep activating the part of me that is afraid to be left? If this helped your body feel a little safer, liking this video helps it reach someone else who needs this clarity. Welcome to PsychBond. You're safe here.